I've said before that this is kind of my experimental playground for new tools and tweaks and stuff for working with this, because I also have the work in progress videos that I do and the First Geek Congregation stuff that I do. So I could try new stuff here without feeling too stupid. While the more important ones, I don't worry about it until I've proved it out over here. So far, last time when I recorded it, it recorded all but the music for the intro and the exit. So I've changed things, set up Soundflower and all sorts of stuff. Cool. And then this time I started it, and there was no audio. So killed the previous one. Thankfully, somebody was watching live. Michael McGannon, who's part of the Monster Guys, who happened to be watching live and said, "Hey, you got no sound." So hopefully this time, and I'm pretty certain I've got it all figured out. The intro music all played, and you can hear me just fine, and you can see me, if not just a little grainy. Fix the graininess a little bit. And now the kicker is, I'm going to fix the graininess in here in a moment, and you'll see why. It's going to totally futz out on me anyways. So, I've talked about the studio before, which is just a garage that's slowly but surely being converted into a game development studio, which gives me a lot more space than I had before. But, it's got a lot of crud in it. Now, the piles are starting to go down. This stuff gets sorted through, and you can see how it's all getting put into its nice little categories that it's supposed to, and everything else. So it improves considerably over time, but it's still a long process. And this whole area behind me eventually becomes a green screen, which most of the time it'll have the shelves in front of it. You pull the shelves out, and you move them. Boom, there's the green screen. And then no longer will you be looking at my ugly mug in front of a bunch of junk. You'll be looking at my ugly mug in Paris or something like that. Just a whole lot of fun. But that's not the cool and awesome thing about my studio setup here. One of my favorite features is right here. Yes, the great outdoors. It also blew out the video a little bit here. Come on. Oh, ow. Yeah. Yeah, it requires some manual control whenever I make major changes to it, unfortunately. I'll have to figure that out one of these days. But this is the great outdoors. See, on a nice day, I close off the vents, I can close the main door, open up the overhead door, and suddenly I've got, free air conditioning to start with. Second of all, I like fresh air. I like the sound of the rain as it's raining out there, and it's just a nice day where it's just a little bit of breeze, and the rain's pretty much going straight down, so it's not getting in here, which, the combination of electronics and rain is kind of bad. But overall, come on, how awesome is this? Seriously. I get fresh air all the time, anytime I want. Now, I'll admit, this is Kansas. So, one, the weather's awfully temperamental. And two, there's whole sections of time that you're not going to want to have access to this at all. It's been 100 degrees, hundreds and 99, 90s for, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks now, which for Kansas is really fairly light, especially compared to the previous year. And of course, when winter rolls around, being -2, -10 outside, plus a wind chill of -30 or 40, those days we won't do that. In fact, those days I'm going to curse about that overhead door when it comes to being cold out, because I have a feeling it's going to be hard to keep this place warm. We'll see what happens. But it's still fairly awesome. Hey, by the way, just in case you didn't know, this is actually done live as a live event. So if you happen to be watching during the live event, you can get a hold of me. Wow, that's kind of backwards. at Midnight Rider on Twitter or Facebook.com/Midnight Rider. Message me there so that you can be part of the conversation if you want. I don't know why you want to be part of the conversation for this stuff, but hey, whatever. If you find something interesting you want to chat about it, just give me a holler. Now, this week's kind of been kind of cool. We've managed to get some things done. Start off with the workouts are going great, which is helping keep my ADHD in check. Awesome, because I definitely needed it after quitting smoking and quitting the caffeine entirely. Now, in case you didn't know, water is about the most boring thing you can ever drink. And that's all I've been having lately. I've been doing really good with this idea, but I have to admit, it gets a little boring after a while. But on the other hand, I'm able to sleep a little bit better at night. I'm still not getting to bed on the time I need to, but I'm getting better quality of sleep. So it's a win. But meanwhile, one of the projects I got done was Suzanne Lambden is a local author who does the Dead Hearts and Morbid Hearts series. Great gal who has a really good product. So I've set up her personal website, or kind of her personal brand website, as an author. I'm also in the process of setting up. That was actually people announcing that I'm doing a live stream right now. But she also has a book site. The problem is her book site, she doesn't care for it. Now, I know the people that originally did the book site for her, and typically they're a very quality company. I really like the people that I know over there. So I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure how this one ended up, because the site is so blah and so unprofessional. I mean, really. So over the last couple of months, along with the huge crush of things I've had going on, this is one of the sites I've been trying to get up and done and running. The other one, which is Beaver Lake Campground, is the next one that's to be finished on my list. That's actually a little bit longer term, but the first stage, which is just getting the website done, is almost complete. So having both of these off of my desk is going to be awesome. I can't understate how awesome that is to have yet another thing off my desk. Because on top of that, I still have Jumpman Forever. It's got to ship for PC and Mac, and iOS and Android. We've got Crucible that has to ship for Ouya, PC, Mac, iOS, and Android. We have P3V3 that needs to ship for Ouya, Mac, PC, iOS, and Android. Maybe. I'll come back to P3V3 again some other time. During the work in progress videos, actually. But every time one of these other things gets off my desk, it cleans that much more stuff up so that I can focus and stay focused on the things I need to get done. And which a lot of the stuff I really need to get done is game development. Speaking of game development, if you've never heard of it before, there's something called The Horror Game. The Horror Game, I probably have a copy of it laying around here somewhere. The Horror Game is a role-playing game. I'm serious, like right around here. I mean, I wrote it. I should have it like right here. Nope, apparently I do not. Anyways, it's a role-playing game based around 80s horror movies. It was a cool idea I'd come up with back probably around 2000, maybe a little later or earlier than that. I can't remember for sure right now. It emulates the old 80s horror movies. The game master sets up a bad guy and, well, kills off all his friends. The thing is I'm really not very excited about marketing this thing. I've already marketed it for a number of years now. It's been out in print since 2010, I believe. So 4 years going. It is it's a heck of a thing. It's a lot of fun. So don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that it's boring and I don't like it. Actually, I do like the game. It's a great game. The problem is, I've yet to be able to ship any expansions for it. The idea has been there. um, for quite a while to do a set of expansions. There's part of it written. It just never quite bubbles to the surface. And part of that really is kind of sales. Let's face it, it'd be great to get excited about if I was selling, well, let's say I was selling 500-600 copies a month. It'd be great. But really what we sell is, on the average, is 5 or 6 copies a month. And actually it's mainly done in 2 big blocks. Great Plains Renaissance Festival in the spring and Great Plains Renaissance Festival in the fall. And in my opinion, in the local market, I've gotten pretty close to tapping everybody who's ever going to purchase a copy of this. Now, it's also available online. And one of these days I need to do some work to bring the site back up to speed and everything else. It's gotten old and crufty. But yeah, so I decided, I don't know, Wild Web. One of the things I picked up recently was Hootsuite. I actually bought a professional version of it. If you don't know, Hootsuite's an online service that allows you to aggregate all of your social media platforms and do things like scheduling, monitor all of them all at once, things like that. It's actually kind of cool. In fact, if you really want to see, here's the magic of the stuff that I can do on here. Let's see if I've got this set up right now. Yeah, nope. Give me a second. And twist. Let's switch over and pull up Hootsuite real quick. Pretty simple idea. Let me give you my favorite view of this, which is what I have called the master view. The master view allows me to see the biggest chunk out of the most active of the social media feeds that I use. Now, when I say social media feeds I use, I don't know how many Facebook pages, both my own and ones that I deal with for customers. I have my Facebook, my Twitter. Actually, go back to the master view here. My Facebook, my Twitter, all the different pages. First Geek Congregation that I deal with on 3 different platforms: Google Plus, Twitter, and Facebook. So all of these things, well, it allows me to bring it all together. Pretty cool idea. By the way, this is not a paid advertisement or anything. It's just a cool set of tools. And the advantage to it, though, is, along with all this neat stuff, I can do this. This is the schedule of my posts that I have coming up. These are things that are going to post sooner or later. Each one of them set for a time. For instance, tomorrow there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different things posting, 8 different things posting through Facebook and Twitter. Not all of it the same. Some of it this and some of it that. And some of it's personal stuff. In fact, instead of immediately posting everything I see, I'll a lot of times post. Hang on, I'm fumbling here. There we go. Back to me. I got a Wild Web. I thought, you know what? Halloween's coming up. It's a couple months out yet. So I decided something cool. If part of my problem with why I'm not excited about working with a horror game is that it's not selling a whole lot, why am I not marketing it? So, why not start marketing it? So right now, the horror game, every day from here until Halloween, has set up in Hootsuite a post. It'll be a meme, or an image, or a classic horror villain, or something like that, along with some text to usually mostly jokes about it. The horror game, while based around 80s horror movies, has a lot of sense of humor. Because, well, I've got a lot of sense of humor. I think I do anyways. Whether other people think that, I don't know. I don't really care, actually. As long as I amuse me, that's what really counts. So, set them all up so that over the next, month and a half, we'll end up with, or 2.5 months, excuse me, there's just this huge feed of them, and all of them mentioning the horror game while we're at it. see if I can pump up something different. And if not, at least the people who are currently subscribed to the horror game see some motion on it and see something cool and happening, including the countdown to Halloween, and all of the bad puns and bad jokes and Freddy Krueger images and the kitty Freddy Krueger. Yeah, you have to see the kitty Freddy Krueger at some point. Just how to assemble classic horror villains, just all sorts of wild stuff. And we'll see. Maybe that throws some interest out there again. If it does, if I can get enough interest, well, maybe it's time to start looking at bringing the horror game back and to start creating some more modules again. I've got partially done stuff. I've got partial rules for LARP. I've got partial rules for campaign, and then, of course, the full original set, plus new villains, and a couple of different things here and there. The problem is each one of those modules isn't written so they can slap them all in one book. Not really. LARP has a set of extended rules. And yes, I've actually had somebody ask me about live action role playing the horror game. There are some nutcase people out there. I suppose it might not be a bad choice. On the other hand, if you're doing this out in the park and you're pretending to stab people to death, this might not be a good idea. I take no responsibility for it. Just saying. In campaign rules, the horror game was designed as a one-night stand. You're supposed to go in and, most of the people who play die, and that's the end of it. But there are people who think that this would be fun as a campaign, as a long-term run thing. So entirely new rules had to be drafted for it. They're mostly done. I haven't decided on a couple of specifics when it comes to experience. Experience works quite a bit different than in other games. Leveling and things like that, quite a bit different than how you normally would deal with it, because it's based upon survival per run. Every time you survive a run, you get a little bit of experience. And gaining levels is not really very relevant. If you're familiar with the horror game rules, you're changing the size of the point system. So if you survive 3 runs, the entire game goes up 1 point, making the bad guy more and more fatal every time. While all the players go up 1 point for surviving three games, the bad guy goes up 1 point for surviving 2 games, which means that the bad guy is always going to eventually, either the players are going to become amazing, or the bad guy's going to win. Hard to tell. Or they're going to get to a point where everybody's kind of a stalemate and does not wish to move on. Now, some people will probably think that's unfair. Okay, most of the horror game is a bit unfair. It's really skewed to killing all the players. It's based around horror movies. Most role-playing games are based around the idea the GM is essentially working with the players to tell a story in such a way that the players get the maximum enjoyment out of it, and probably get some time to really know and enjoy their character. In the horror game, that's not the way it is. In the horror game, sorry, if you see my eyes go down, I'm usually checking the messages that are going on in the background to see if any of them have to do with the live feed here. In the horror game, you don't have that. You create characters in a very shorter period of time, and they're probably going to die. And that's part of the fun, part of the uniqueness. So when you start talking about campaign rules, you take away some of the uniqueness of the game system. So it doesn't mesh well with the core rules as a book. It has to stand on its own. LARP doesn't mesh well with the core rules. It has to stand on its own. Now the expansion stuff, extra character or extra bad guys and scenarios, it'll actually mesh with any of those, so there's not a problem there. It's just those core sets of rules. So like I said, if I can get to the point that there's more excitement about it and we're seeing more sales happen, or something like that, and you know what, maybe then I can finally get to the point that I'm looking at doing the rest of the effort to finish it and put it to the and it's not that I won't ever do it. I will do it on my own anyways eventually. Projects have to be, how do I put it? I have to eat. I have a wife. Um, we have to survive. So it has to be prioritized by what makes me money. Um, it's great to do things for the love of the game, but I don't have a day job. I have game development. So whenever I work on games, I have to choose based off of what's going to make the money. So it's not that I'll never come back to the horror game and do another one. It's just that right now it's not a priority, so it has to fit into those little wedges of time here and there. So, anyways, that is pretty much it for today's blog. And if you didn't see this before, just kind of, you might subscribe to it and keep an eye on that. And anytime that this is just kind of fun. Yeah, okay, I'm a dork. I know I'm a dork. Why you're watching this if you didn't already know I'm a dork? I'm a guy who's doing a video blog in the middle of the night. Of course I'm a dork. Anyways, subscribe to the channel or follow me on Twitter or catch me on Facebook or blah, 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 blah. If you want to get involved in the conversations real time when I'm doing these things. Right now they're not on any schedule. It's when I've got the time. Maybe every other day. Who knows? Maybe every day. Who knows? And some days I may just not have anything to say on here. And it's not all about games. It's not all about my studio. It's whatever pops to my mind. It's the beauty of it for me is it's a blog. I get to do whatever I want. So, anyways, I'm going to leave you with the exit video and exit music. Because last time, the exit video and the exit music didn't work. So, hopefully this time... Hang on. For this time it works.